It's time for MacBreak Weekly. The new MacBooks are here. Well, a few new MacBooks, maybe even a new Mac Mini. We'll talk about that. Security issues with iOS, Pshaw, why you don't need to worry, and a couple of Apple acquisitions that might indicate some new directions for Apple. It's all coming up next on MacBreak Weekly. Stay here.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for MacBreak Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is MacBreak Weekly, episode 413, recorded July 29th, 2014. The font thickens. MacBreak Weekly is brought to you by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you'll finally have your whole financial life in one place and get a clear view of everything you own. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, visit personalcapital.com/MacBreak. It's time for MacBreak Weekly, the show that covers Apple and all the Apple stuff. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's start right off the bat with Mr. Alex Lindsay in studio with us. Good to see you once again.
Good to be here.
Taking yourself off the road for a little bit.
For today.
For like a minute. It's good to have you.
Yeah.
Rene Ritchie to his right. Hi, Rene. Good to see you.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
iMore.com. Feeling great.
Andy was talking about opera today, and I just realized that if he'd gone to Das Fledermaus as a child, he would be Batman today.
He would be what today?
Batman today. He would be Batman.
Was it Das Fledermaus that they were seeing with his parents?
In one of the more recent, it was a Mask of Zorro for a long time, and in the more recent movie, I think it was the Fledermaus.
But in the original DC
Zorro.
#1, what was it?
Zorro, I think.
Zorro? Mask of Zorro?
Yeah.
That's Andy Ihnatko, who would know this as well.
Hello.
Hello, Andrew.
Also, my mother didn't wear pearls, so they couldn't have had that beautiful shot of the pearls slipping from her and then bouncing along as I got. So there are a lot of reasons why I couldn't be Batman, and that's probably the top two. Definitely. I got the brains, I got the physique, I got the money, God knows.
Stately Ihnatko manner. He's joining us. Hey, the Yosemite's here. Yosemite's here. The public beta. Have you all installed? What they said, 1 million people.
Yeah.
Have they run out? If you went right now to the Yosemite beta page, could you get a code? I think you could.
I don't know. I said I reminded myself that I'd signed up for the beta of iOS 8. I had neglected to sign up for Yosemite when I found out when it was going to be shipping about a day before I signed up, and I got a code. So,
but this is one we can talk about because this is not the $99 developer preview. This is a public beta. Rene, be my lawyer here. Is it all right for us to talk about it?
You can talk about all of it. The NDA this year is so different. You're not supposed to review it or do screenshots because the interface can change. They don't want to confuse anybody.
Oh.
But this year you could talk about anything from the day of WWDC and on.
I think I dodged a bullet because I was going to put it on this computer and use it and everybody could see it, but I shouldn't do that, you're saying.
They never prosecute it that fully.
Right.
But it might confuse people.
I like to stay on Apple's good side. That way I get invitations to all the big events. The problem is if you're not using iOS 8, a lot of the features of Yosemite are not visible because continuity especially requires iOS 8. Yep. So all I really see is Helvetica, which is pretty.
Helvetica Noi desktop.
Noi Helvetica desktop.
Yeah.
And there were some rumors when we first saw this at WWDC that this wasn't going to be the final, that they were doing a special font. I guess that's not the case.
They've made a special font years ago. They had a custom Apple font designed, and they have never deployed it. And I still do not know why. Maybe they're just not ready yet. But as far as I know, the Apple Sans, whatever it's called, has been ready for a while.
Well, Chicago, the original font for the original Macintosh was designed for that screen, for that display, to be more legible. Now, presumably, Yosemite is designed mostly for Retina displays. In fact, that has been one complaint from some people. It doesn't look as good in non-Retina displays. Have any of you found that to be the case?
I've only run it on non-Retina, and it's
it
been
looks
fine.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I have it. I actually have it on my old generation MacBook here because I don't want to trust a working computer on it. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know yet whether it's because it's different or because it's not as good on non-Retina. I will say that it does look a little bit closer to like the thin letters are a little bit closer together. It's not so much that I would call it a ding, but I would probably go back to the other one if I could.
One thing I saw, and you have to shoot a close-up shot of the screen to see this, is the lowercase e on non-retina displays. It seems joined. It seems more like an O with a thing across it.
Yeah, it's not illegible. It's just that it's non-optimal for non-retina.
And I believe they adjusted the font so that it would take up the same space as the old system font, so that any existing dialogues wouldn't look crazy until people updated.
Maybe they saw the movie. Maybe Johnny Ive saw the movie Helvetica and got all excited and said, "Let's do everything in Helvetica from now on." That's a good movie, by the way. If you've never seen it, it's a great movie. Yeah.
The sequel, Objectified, is amazing as well.
There's a sequel.
No,
Well, the same people made it.
Objectified.
Helvetica 2. The font thickens.
Serif files.
Helvetica 9.
The Wrath of Serif font.
Helvetica goes serif.
No!
We didn't raise you this way, young man.
Anybody have problems with installing it? I didn't. Apple really. When you first install it, it says, "Now make sure here's Time Machine. Make sure you backed it up." And of course, everywhere they say, "Don't put it on a production machine. Back up." I didn't do any of that. I didn't back it up. I put it right on my main Mac Pro because I have such faith in Apple. And you know what? No problems.
We've noticed a couple audio issues with video conferencing software with the new build. So just if
any particular program or
Hangouts.
Hangouts.
So we don't know if it's a
Hangouts uses
and Skype. I think Skype actually does it as well. So I think
well, that's interesting because Hangouts use video and Skype uses its own codec. So
Final Cut wouldn't work at all.
Final Cut wouldn't work at all.
Yeah, now it works, but the original beta, there was several apps, Apple's own apps that just wouldn't.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, a lot of the Apple Pro apps. But everything seems to be fine now. The only thing I found was I use OpenPGP to do digital signing, and it disabled that plugin in Mail, which was nice. I mean, it actually said, "Hey, it's not going to work, so we're going to disable it." But everything else has worked.
Yeah, we just had it randomly disappear, like the audio just disappears randomly. That's not the issue. Yeah.
Another problem people should be aware of, though, is that there are a lot of developers who have already put out the word that said, look, if you give us a bug report that involves 10.10, we are not going to treat it as seriously as a bug report for 10.9. We are appreciative of bug testing, but we're not obligated to fix something that might fix itself in itself in the next version of the beta. So,
although when you install it, it installs a new tool which looks like an email tool, but it's their feedback tool?
Bug Reporter.
Bug Reporter. So they are saying, give us information.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. That's to Apple.
Yeah. And
it's other people that are saying that. I get it.
No,
I'm
saying
that on iOS.
third-party developers are I've heard from a bunch of them that have been saying that, look, we are. If you say that our program crashes in 10.10, that to us is not as big a problem as a crash that happens 10.9. So we are going to put that into our developer channel, and we might address that later rather than sooner. So
that's always the case. That makes sense.
Well, that's why, again, I think that a lot of people are misunderstanding what a public beta is. It's not, oh, cool, I get this awesome new operating system months before everybody else. It means that, no, you get something that's not quite finished yet.
Yeah.
And so even if it runs fine for the first 2 or 3 weeks, something might happen in the next week after that. And the day that a mission critical tool fails for a stupid reason, then you can't get tech support for it. Yeah, that's not a good thing.
Were there differences between the last developer preview and this public beta?
The build numbers are different.
So there are some differences.
Major.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I have to say, it feels like a finished operating system to me. I haven't.
That's the danger. That's what Andy mentioned. Like, we had a lot of people who just installed it thinking that it was an early access program and they were getting the final version, and that's never the case. Some people have I've had absolutely no problems. It's been fantastic for me, but I know people, really, really smart technical people, who had to uninstall it almost immediately because it was just not workable for them as a machine. I've had versions of iOS, not the current one, but versions of iOS where the phone just didn't work as a phone anymore. So you are telling Apple that you are no longer, like, you're giving Apple Care up, you're giving Apple Stores up, you're going into a beta program. And please, most of all, be classy. If an app doesn't work, do not go to the App Store and give them a horrible review, because they are not even allowed updating those apps yet.
Yeah. Be classy. Stay classy, beta testers. On the other, very, very appropriate comments, Rene, but I install it and I like it. It does.
It's awesome.
Well, I think it also depends on how important it is for your computer to run smoothly and how hard you're pushing it. I know.
And we should say you don't gain that much either on the other side of it, right? It's just different looking mostly.
It's different, yeah. We have like 2 computers on Yosemite, 2 computers on Mavericks, and everything else still on.
Yeah, you
10.8.
You're in a hardcore production environment.
Yeah, because we can't afford to have all, because it's not just for us. We're integrating with so much other hardware that we can't afford to not know how that's going to interact and so on and so forth. So, but that's when you think about upgrading and beta testing stuff. If you have a machine that you're willing to do that on, it's great. to know what's happening next. But definitely know that you could lose lots of things.
Our editors are still using Tiger. We don't
Get an
we don't let
external
them up
drive
ever.
and boot from that. Put it on.
That's it. By the way, I was going to do that until I lost my copy. But it's very, very easy to take the installer. The problem is, as is with previous versions of OS 10, when you download it and immediately make a copy before you can complete the installation process so that you have a copy, because as soon as it finishes installation, it erases it to save space. It's 5 gigs plus. So if you want a copy, do that, and then you can make a bootable USB key or bootable external drive that'll allow you to run Yosemite whenever you feel like it. That's probably the best way to do it.
Great way to
or
test
make
it.
a partition would be another way to do it.
This is also another good time to, as always, recommend Super Duper, which is the best. Just image this. Give me a bootable backup of this drive as quickly and easily as possible, because the easiest way to go from I wish I hadn't done that thing to my system to having your system back is still the free version of Super Duper. It's free for download for just click this button and back everything up. It's $30 or $40 for the cool stuff like scheduling and selective backups and stuff like that. But again, Time Machine, if you think the Time Machine is going to help you here, it will help you, but it won't put you back to where you were as quickly as Super Duper.
Bootable disk is great. Bootable recovery is great. Hey, Curtis wants to know if we all can agree that the new Finder is too happy. It is a new Finder icon, and he's very happy. Is that, we agree? No?
He deserves to be happy, Leo.
He should be happy. Why shouldn't he be happy?
California.
If it persists past 4 hours, he should definitely call a doctor. I will agree with that.
And then I'm sorry, that was Brian Elliott who said that. Then Curtis B wants to know if it'll work on a virtual machine, if you can use Parallels or Fusion, VMware Fusion with it. Will it? There, see how happy he is? That's a much broader smile.
Softer,
9 degrees of whimsical
happier.
happiness.
I actually like the new one better.
Yeah, I like the new one.
I think that the extending the curve beyond the square added a little bit of flair that I like.
I think it looks like it's a lightning bolt that's about to strike.
Yeah, but now I don't know what I don't like. Now it reads like a happy face on a square.
It's true.
As opposed to something with a little bit more style. And I can't believe we're reviewing an icon.
Is the blue beautiful enough, Andy? Is it the blue beautiful enough?
I just want to point out
Apple
the
is
corners.
doomed. You know, I hate to jump on that bandwagon, but after this icon thing, I don't think that they can turn back from this.
I looked at this for about 3 years before I realized it was a face.
What?
I had no idea
Not
there was
a face, 2 faces, and a face. It's actually 3 faces total.
Very Picasso.
Left face, right face, and center face.
I was like, why is this the symbol for Explorer?
What did you think it was?
I thought it was because
a Chinese letter?
I knew that it was Explorer, right? But I was like, why is this the symbol for Explorer? It must be some like technical specification for
this
copy.
actually in Chinese is that your dog?
We should make a movie called Finding Finder.
People have to check this stuff when you get tattoos or icons. You really got to check it.
Yes.
I think though, if you look closely, let's show that again. It is less flat, more rounded. It's beveled.
Yeah, it's more gradients.
It's not. This is not the flat OS everybody was saying. This is more 3D. Am I wrong?
Also, the rounded corners on the lines. I don't know the line separating the front face from the back face. I don't know.
It's not drop shadow free, my friend.
It looks creamy, and I don't with so much of my reaction to this new operating system and these new UIs, I have to separate. This isn't like the thing that I've been using for the past 10 years from I objectively don't like it. So I'm reacting negatively, but okay, we'll see how it works.
I just want to make sure our listeners are clear that nowhere else in the world are you going to hear a long conversation about an icon. That's for Apple. And just if you go to CNN, you're not going to see this kind of conversation.
I'm sure
Alex.
In-depth discussion you're looking for.
I'm sure
Pull
there's
the
a
red iTunes
podcast
icon,
somewhere.
see what happens.
I'm sure there's a podcast somewhere where they're saying only Apple puts this kind of craftsmanship, the umami of user interface design. Now, why is it necessary for them to trim the lines? Well, because of now it's a view portal into the cognitive disruption. Like, okay.
I'm just going to say Steve Jobs
would
would never have said yes to that icon. Taylor wants to know if he can run it on his Hackintosh. What are you, nuts?
Try. I mean, if you're willing to Hackintosh a computer, why don't you give it a try?
Do it and let us know.
Yeah, good luck. God bless you.
You got to get that Dell
DIY
Inspiron to do something. If it's not going to be Linux, it may as well be macOS 10.5.
I like the new. I was not a big fan of notifications in OS 10, but now with Yosemite, I kind of like the notification bar. It gives you weather. It gives you a clock faces.
Widgets.
It's really basically, I think, to replace the dashboard widgets, isn't it? In a way, yeah. I mean, they still have dashboard widgets, but a lot of that functionality, and you can add stuff. You can add extensions or whatever. What do they call those?
Those are Today View extensions. Is the
Today View extensions.
They're widgets though, and the different thing, and this is more prevalent on iOS, but on OS 10 too. Instead of going to a separate screen, you can now pull in that notification center to any screen that you're already on.
Yeah.
So it's more convenient.
Yeah, I have a 3-screen setup, so in my case, it is a little. One thing that's changed very slight is that when the screen is not active, the menu bar unhighlight. It goes dark.
Yeah.
And it's possible for me to have all 3 screens with dark menu bars, which makes it a little weird because you can't really see it very well. I tried for a while the dark. You do now have a new option, a dark background menu bar. But the problem is none of the menu bar icons from any of the third-party developers know about that, so everything just disappears. And
the dock can run away from you.
The dock actually runs away?
Well, the dock can move depending on what monitor
Does
you're
it get
using.
up on
and
its
sometimes,
little dock legs?
once in a while, it seems confused and it moves to the monitor that I'm not on.
That may be a bug that they're going to fix.
Yeah,
we are on multi-use. I would actually guess probably more Mac users have multiple monitors than any other operating system. It's that seems anybody who's using a Mac, it's often the
You get
case.
used to it. 2, 3.
Really? I have 3. I mean, I'm a glutton. A 31-inch 4K display, 2 27-inch cinema displays.
Well, you're running air traffic control for Petaluma in your spare time.
I am. Flight 73 heavy. Come on in.
That's nice. It gives you an illusion that you're outside.
Yeah.
And a tan.
Without any of the hassle of being out there with people.
Yeah. It is. In fact, that's I have windows behind it, but I can't see them, and that's just how I like it. The outside world is scary. What else? The notification center is different. Again, a lot of the stuff that they touted on at WWDC needs
the
iOS 8.
new Messages app where you can actually leave group conversations, label group conversations, share stuff with groups.
There's a on is it 9 to 5 Mac? There's a little forums thread with. In fact, they call it all. Oh, I'm sorry, it's Mac Rumors.
Yeah,
it's all the little things, and it is little things. iOS-inspired boot screen, new Finder icon, adorable. Flatter system icons, new font, new login screen, background. Photo booth was gone, but it's now back. Bing replaces Google as Spotlight. There's a lot of little things, but most
Spotlight
of them.
is nice.
I've been using the Spotlight. I took Quicksilver off, and Command Space, just like with Quicksilver, I use Control Space, but Command Space, which still is the Spotlight search thing, now pulls up a center thing, and it can put anything in it, just like Quicksilver. I like it.
It's not necessarily a big departure from the feature that we already have in 10.9 before, but I was surprised at how much it reminded me of Siri. Now that you basically see you hit a hotkey and then this thing takes over your screen. It's like, I acknowledge that right now I'm going to do nothing but listen to what you tell me to do right now. It seemed like a really Siri-esque sort of interface, even though of course it has nothing to do with Siri right now. But it does make me think that perhaps we're taking a look at a mechanism when they finally do put that feature in sometime later on.
Calculator apps redesigned.
High five.
Did chess get a makeover?
That's actually a big deal because they hadn't redesigned the calculator app since the very first version of OS 10.
Yeah.
I doubt the engine's different. Probably just said, "Hey, go in there to
Turns out that
spend the morning and change the CSS, will you?"
It turns out the add calculation hasn't changed for
adds.
a couple
1
thousand
plus
years.
1 is still 2, and we're happy about that.
Yeah.
Although, according to the movie Lucy, 1 plus 1 does not equal 2.
Did you see Lucy, Leo?
I did.
I did too.
I liked it.
I haven't seen it yet.
I'm the only person who did. Like 49 on Rotten
It
Tomatoes.
was a lot of
really
fun.
wants to
I
see
thought
it.
it was a lot of fun.
I loved it.
I immediately want to do all that stuff.
I love seeing Scarlett Johansson kick some ass.
I was sad it wasn't a Black Widow movie, but it was good for what it was.
It was kind of like a Black Widow movie.
Yeah.
And at the end, this isn't a spoiler. It is a spoiler. Don't listen.
Don't do spoilers. It's the first week.
The whole thing ends with a USB key, a thumb drive.
Yeah, so our future now depends on the person being able to know the right way to stick it into a computer.
Well, that was like, wasn't that the same thing with
Notes
the
for
end of what was the?
It turns out if you have 100% intelligence, you become a thumb drive.
Luc Besson says.
I
so.
think I've spoiled it for
Yes,
you.
you've
That
ruined
spoils the
you've ruined
movie. Did
everything.
you see
Of course-
it?
No, I haven't seen it.
You'll
yet.
like the special effects.
Okay, there you go.
If it was a lightning drive, Alex.
No, but wasn't it like Independence Day when they got up there and were able to upload a virus into the main system? I was
I'm
like,
telling you.
man, it's great that
Oh,
code is the
Thank
same in
God
every
for
planet.
USB keys. Yep.
Scarlett Johansson, Jeff Goldblum. Which one do you want to look at for 93 minutes?
I like Jeff Goldblum. I wouldn't mind looking at him for 90 minutes.
I wouldn't mind hearing him play piano. I bet
Really?
he's still a
Plays
better piano
piano?
player. Yeah. He has, matter of fact, he has a jazz date somewhere like in the LA area that he keeps, like Woody
kidding.
Allen at Elaine's every
He
Monday.
plays all the time. Oh, that's great.
Yep.
iTunes has been updated. Ooh. But it's all
Ish.
just cosmetics. It's
Yeah.
not- yeah. There's a
advantage of
new
the new-
font book icon. Mail now says hello from California instead of hello from Cupertino, California. Ooh. What could that mean?
And Mail has extensions now. There's things like markup put right into Mail.
That's good because one hopes that the way OpenPGP will fix the incompatibility has now become an extension, which would be good.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the overall style change of the entire operating system, where from now on, if there's a feature that you want, why would you buy another app to make that happen? Just buy a little tool that makes it happen in the built-in apps.
Yes.
And that's another reason why this isn't going to be a great revolutionary thing for people to switch to the beta, because so much of what is going to make Yosemite great will come on the release day when you see all of these third-party apps
That's
and see
how I
well
feel.
they work together.
Yeah. At this point, it's not that different, frankly. It's like,
It's an
cosmetic.
empty hall without an amusement park inside it.
Yeah.
It's
A shave and a haircut.
2 bits.
Did they get rid of the green felt in Game Center?
Yes. Your great green felt nightmare is over, Leo. Someone in Cupertino has an apartment full of green felt now. I don't know where he's going to
There's
store
a
all
ton
that
of
stuff.
green felt. We could use it for green screen. We'll just send it over here.
Yeah.
We'll cover everything in green felt, and the whole studio could be green.
I've been thinking about doing that. In fact, then when you want to walk in and sneak up on people, we'll just wear a green suit.
That'd be great. Camouflage.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else to say about Yosemite? You are right to caution people, and I will reiterate that, Rene. Don't do it unless you can afford. Do it on a machine you can afford to lose. Don't complain in the Apple Store if your favorite third-party app doesn't work. Of course, it doesn't. This is a preview. This is not a free upgrade right now, early upgrade program. This is a preview.
And we have an article up on how to downgrade back to Mavericks if it's not available for you.
You can go backwards
Yeah.
without losing everything.
I mean, it's not. It depends. Like there is some variation. Some people can just boot into the recovery partition and Mavericks is still there, and they can reinsert Mavericks. Some people need to do the internet boot and have it re-download Mavericks. But yeah, there's ways.
Okay, and then Yosemite will be the previous system.
Yeah, you're just paving over it.
Yeah. Okay. All right, more to come. The Beats acquisition. We're one step closer.
Beat goes on.
And the beat goes on. But first, a word from Personal Capital. The guy who started Personal Capital was Bill Harris, was a guest on Triangulation 2 years ago. I've mentioned this before. Former president of Intuit and of PayPal. He really knows money. And I think he saw an opportunity here to help people understand their money situation better. But unlike some other programs that do the same thing, this is with an eye toward planning for the future. He calls it wealth management, and I think that's a very good way to describe it. Personal Capital. It's a free, secure tool. You can go to personalcapital.com/MacBreak right now and sign up for it. You put all your financial data in there, and it keeps it up to date with real-time bar charts, graphs, pie charts, so you know exactly where your assets are on a single screen, whether it's your computer, your smartphone, your tablet. Real time. It's intuitive. They'll tell you if you're overpaying your 401k fees, if you haven't balanced your portfolio right, you haven't allocated your assets right, how to maximize your shot at retiring comfortably. Wealth management, building your wealth. I feel guilty even saying that, but it really is true. If you don't take care of yourself, no one else is going to. Personal Capital. You'll also get tailored advice just for you on optimizing your investment. Don't wait. It takes minutes to sign up. You will achieve big dividends immediately, and you'll be glad. 20 years from now, you'll look back and say, thank goodness Leo told me about Personal Capital. Personalcapital.com/MacBreak. Best of all, this is free. It's the smart way to grow your money, and I'm thrilled to have him on the show. I've been using him since Bill was on Triangulation. I've been very, very happy with it. Beats is one step closer. Europe has now approved of the Apple takeover, the $3 billion takeover of Beats. However, Bose is suing Beats, saying, "Hey, we invented noise reduction headphones. You can't make them."
Hey, you have real money now.
Yeah. Let's get some. We want some of that Apple money.
Let's wait until you're on the hook before we sue you.
Apple's never made noise canceling headphones. Is that something that Apple wants to do?
I don't really.
Why
I mean,
not?
I guess.
Boy, it worked. It was very quiet.
Yeah, exactly. we were impersonating a
Make all the
noise
things.
cancellation. No, I don't know. I haven't really found. I'm going to try some noise canceling headphones soon. I have a couple folks in the company that have said they're really good, and I'm going to give it a shot. But
you
I
and
don't
I
like
do the same
sound.
thing. We wear the Etymotics deep in our ears, and that shuts out all sounds. We hear the music clean and pure. The problem with noise canceling is it got a little microphone in it essentially, and it's inverting the wave form, so it mixes the jet engine sound inversed
with the inverted
and
version
cancels
of
it out. Doesn't do a perfect job. It gives you a very odd effect when you put it on.
That's been my thing.
And I mean, and I think it's imperfect.
I haven't trusted it.
Lucy
I am going to try
You also
some
have
of
to
the
charge
Bose.
it up.
Right. Well,
Which is a pain in the ass.
I'm going to try the little Bose. I guess now has in-ear versions that I'm going to give it a shot, and I'll let people know what I think of it. But I've always not liked the sound of it. I've always found that I only use in-ear because I don't like to pack over the ear ones.
Now,
that's usually I'm just stingy about my space.
Berkeley Steven in our chat room has a good use case. He's a helicopter pilot.
Right.
And it's true, when you get in the helicopter, you put on those headphones. Noise canceling would help a lot. It works best with a certain kind of continuous sound.
When I love noise canceling microphones when I'm driving, but that's
and so for a helo pilot, you wouldn't want to put in-ear monitors
not listening to
because
music,
then you wouldn't hear anything. The engine could conk out, and you'd go. So when you're playing your
going down?
Your Flight of the Valkyries, you still want to hear a little ambient sound.
You want to hear your passengers screaming because they might say some cool stuff.
It was fun. We did a helicopter. I had never done this. I've never been in a helicopter. And Lisa, who is a daredevil, convinced me to do one in Hawaii. And we flew over the island of Maui.
They're fun.
And
Like on Magnum PI.
that's the funny thing. The first song is the Magnum PI theme. So it lifts up and it's going, and he intentionally kind of flies like this. It's da 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 da. It's the Magnum PI theme.
That's awesome.
And I thought, wow, this is weird.
But that's why everyone wants
Let
to
it
do
go.
it. They're like,
It's a
I just want to
decade
be like
ago.
Magnum
And then
PI for a minute.
he says, I know we really love Magnum PI here on the island of Maui, and over to your left you see the volcano Haleakala. And then there's pop music going the whole time, but they've timed it. So like when they fly into a rain cloud, it's actually going, listen to the rhythm of, or something like that.
He's got a little random selector.
No, it's on an iPod. He's got a little iPod, and they do the same flight every day, 8 times a day, so they know exactly what they're going to do.
Oh, that's funny.
It's all timed out.
That shows off another advantage of the silicone in-ear solutions, because as often as I use them to listen to music on airplanes, I also use them just simply because I don't want to have to listen to that argument that's happening 2 rows in front of me.
And noise cancellation doesn't work with that very well. You still hear voices.
This is just when you don't have music pumping through them, they are just simply earplugs. There have been times I've been caught, like I didn't know that I was going to be at a movie that was going to be this loud.
Right.
Like when I saw the Superman movie, we came in late, so I was like 3 aisles. I don't know if it was the Superman movie or the Pacific Rim movie, but whatever. I was like so close to the IMAX speakers that I just had to like go into my bag, root through them, find my earplugs, and put them in just for protection. And on top of the idea that I'm not the person who can be trusted to keep powered headphones charged in every time I want them. And like you, Alex, I don't like having a big bulky thing in my bag just because over a week-long trip I might use them for 4 hours during 140 hours of being out there.
Well, that's true. The Etymotics are light and simple. You just roll them. Yeah.
I have a couple of them usually just because I lose them and wash them. But that's
the negative.
They do not survive. The little ones, in case you're wondering, the Etymotics do not survive a cycle of the wash.
No.
And a couple of them gone down that way. But I put them in. I don't even plug them in half the time when I'm in an airplane. I just, I'm not ready to listen to anything. I may not be set up for anything. I just use them as earplugs, and they're pretty good.
I shot a little video. This is from the helicopter ride in Hawaii. I shot a little video.
The helicopter was really low right there. And it was like right over there. And it was in the house, outside.
We love Magnum PI here in Hawaii, and we want to welcome you aboard.
Actually, you can't be bothered to update all of our pattern for the new Hawaii 5.0 show, so we're going to use the same loop that we've been using for the past.
I thought Hawaii 5.0 maybe, but anyway. Other acquisitions. Apple's got something going on. I feel like there's something we can read into the tea leaves of these acquisitions. So you got Beats, Swell, which is a radio app. They got it cheap, $30 million. Nothing. $30 million seems like nothing nowadays.
They went. That was like a rounding error compared to Beats.
1/100th of what Beats cost. Right. $30 million, nothing. Pocket change. And then Pandora for books startup called Book Lamp. We don't know how much they paid for Book Lamp. I'm guessing it wasn't $30 million even. They say higher than 10 million, lower than 15. So, actually, Book Lamp was kind of interesting because it was like more like Pandora than anything because it was a genome project. So they would look at books by content, and then so their visualizations like here's 50 Shades of Grey. If you're looking for the good parts of 50 Shades of Grey, this is how much erotica. And then I guess where the stars are is a place you should probably, bookmark it. Yeah. But meanwhile, Letters to Penthouse 28.
Yeah, it's a lot like Amazon's X-ray service, which is really useful for actual Kindle branded.
I love
devices.
X-ray. Yeah,
I love it too because there are times when like I've finished like a really great like 500 600 page book, and then there are times where I'm on a plane. It's like an hour and 20-minute flight. I don't want to read the entire thing, but I really want to read. I remember that really great scene with this character, and boy, it will just tell you exactly where to go to see the thing that you want. It'll tell you on a longer book. Like I never managed to make it through American Gods in like one dose all the way through. It's always I'll read it for a day or two and then put it away for a week, then a day or two later. But in those gaps, you miss all the fine points. The X-ray will tell you, okay, well, if you want to know more about this character, here's what this character is all about, and here's where he or she appears in the rest of the book. So if they want to try to enhance iBooks and make it a little bit more, look for opportunities for greatness and beguilement, that's certainly a great way to do it.
So Aaron Stanton, who is the guy behind Book Lamp, had founded a previous website called Can Google Hear Me?
Leo.
It was, I guess, a site that he wanted to get Google to hear his idea, so he created this site, Can Google Hear Me? And that was Book Lamp. Google apparently didn't, but Apple did. So there. So it's interesting what Apple's putting together here, doesn't it? Sound like an interesting content play. Swell kind of makes sense as building out Apple Radio with talk. Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, one of Apple's problems right now is that some of their tentpole features are now commonplace. Where there was a time when iTunes was a really, really big deal. Now there are a million different music library managers on your device, and now people are not even so interested in actually manipulating direct media. They just want content to come in. So if you have a device that they don't want the iPad to be a generic book reader that will run a number of reading apps. They want to make sure that iBooks is the place you want to go for reading your book, because that experience is going to be better than any other Google Play book reader or even the Kindle reader is going to be. And if they can do that by adding features, great. Similarly, if they can, they really kicked off podcasting with that really great podcasting library. But now the Mac and the iOS devices are just other devices that do podcasts. So if they simply roll that into the standard music player and say that we will just simply tell us what you want, and we will make sure that you're hearing the podcast you like, not just by name and by title, but by simply saying that I like podcasts of this title. Then when you skip past things that you don't like after 10 or 15 minutes of an hour-long show, it learns that, okay, he doesn't like that. So I'm a little bit...
Stitcher does that. There are programs... Slacker, I think, might do that. There are programs that do that.
I've never seen it work very well. I don't know about other people.
Recommendation engines suck, right?
Yes. Yeah, and also, I think it's kind of interesting if they were to... with Pandora, you have never heard of this band, you have never heard of this album before, but it's being presented to you, and you like it and you thumbs up about it, but did you really form a connection, like an audience connection to that material. So I'm wondering if they really do succeed in creating a talk radio, like a Pandora talk radio thing. I'll be very, very pleased when like Answer Me This comes on, but will it be right now? I'm such a fan of Answer Me This that it's a top, my podcatcher is told to, whenever a new episode of this comes on, put that at the very, very top of the very next playlist. I know when they are supposed to drop on a certain day, but they don't. I'm wondering if that will change the relationship between an audience and a podcast when you stop being this rabid fan of this can't miss podcast, and it simply becomes you turn on this, you press this one button, you let Apple do the steering for you, and you're happy if it comes on. If it doesn't come on, maybe you don't even notice because there's so much else that's coming in there.
And one of the things that I think that we haven't seen yet is we can't really reproduce radio, because we have to either all talk or have all music. So Spotify or Pandora is all music, and we're all talk. There is the opportunity for a company like Apple or
to mix a little
Google,
music in between the podcasts.
Well, what if you could create a radio show, like a real radio show? If I could say I'm going to talk through here, and then I'm going to play this song. Now, I'm not playing the song in the stream. I'm activating the song or building a playlist for you, essentially. It's going to take a human to do that.
That's not...
No, but I think...
In fact, have you played with the new NPR One, which just came out yesterday? This is NPR's app that, out of the box, has human-curated recommendations and then watches you to improve it.
I don't think any of the computers do it. I just don't think the computers ever do it.
Good at it.
They suck. So the thing is that the idea is that I want to hear... I do want it to be human curated, and I want to subscribe to some dude that I really trust. And so the idea is that
that's a DJ.
A DJ, and the thing is that DJs could, if you figured this part out, where you could actually have a real radio show that's a mixture of music and a mixture of, a new morning show. Idea. The issue is you get to a point where it could be live, and then I fire a song, but the song is being fired by the application, which is not breaking any of the rules. Then you get into this whole thing where now you're really taking radio out of the picture, because now you're able to do all the things that you would normally do without breaking any copyright.
Yeah, I thought we all do that a little bit by you listen to some music, then you fire up Umano, and you listen to some stories, and you fire up.
You do, but I mean, the thing is, I would stop. You
want it to all. I
want to have radio. I want to have the radio experience without the tuner. I just want to know.
Seems like there's an opportunity for us there somewhere.
Yes.
Well, look at this. This is the Book Lamps team. They look straight out of Silicon Valley, the HBO show.
What kept confusing me is that Pandora, as far as I know, is still U.S. only. So when I woke up and saw these headlines, I thought that Apple was doing streaming books and streaming podcasts.
Yeah.
And I didn't even think about the recommendation engine because I never use it. So that mental switch for me took a while to fall.
It's also Apple's first acquisition from Idaho.
Do we know that, Leo?
According to TechCrunch, and I think they follow the scene pretty closely.
$30 million go a long way in Idaho. That's I think much more than California.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's nice to see Apple focusing a little bit on content.
Yep.
And better content.
I think they should focus a lot on content.
Yeah, I mean, there's an opportunity there.
That's what they do with it, though. I mean, Chomp hasn't really paid off.
Exactly. They often seem to buy this stuff and effectively take it off the market. Even Siri was better before Apple got it, I think. Maybe, well, you could argue that one, but
it was better in some ways. Now it's better in other ways.
Right.
It does underscore that Apple's going to have to do more than come up with really cool phones and really cool devices now. They really have to go back to what they were about 10 years ago, where before the iPhone days, where they just had this wonderful system that if you basically bought the golden key that lets you into Apple Land, you found out that all the devices that I have work great in Apple Land, and I don't have to my computer stays running, and I don't have viruses. Boy, I want to stay in Apple Land my entire life. And now that other companies have gotten almost as good at creating devices, a lot of companies have become much better at creating services, and there's still a bunch of software suites out there for which Apple just doesn't have an answer to, and they're multi-platform or they're exclusive to Windows. They really need to. They're doing a great job of building up this world where come back to Apple Land, where you don't buy a third-party podcasting app. Don't let other people handle your curation. We will handle curation for you, and it will be awesome. Just give us a try. You can leave whenever you want, but I don't think you'll want to go because we're going to create such a great world for you.
I briefly flirted with the idea of making Twit more varied. Remember, we did food shows and we did other stuff. And what I found is that people who come here want to know what they're going to get. So they kind of want the stuff that goes best for us is the stuff that goes right down the middle of our content. Technology, news, and help and information, and so it needs to be something like Apple if it's going to be this higher level kind of meta curation. I don't think when people want a channel, they want that to know what that channel's going to do, don't you think?
I think
Maybe
so.
not.
I mean, a lot of people like to watch, TNT, and there's a lot of things.
Yeah,
on
that's
TNT,
all mixed up on
so
TNT.
I think that it's. I think it just depends on how.
But that used to be because you didn't have much choice. So you turn on a channel and you get. But now because you have choice and control with your DVR, people don't just turn on TNT and let it sit there.
But I think the opportunity though is looking at what people that overlap a certain amount. So I think that how you. I mean, I don't know.
Well, I always thought
what
that.
do I know? I don't.
We'll do the geek experience. So geeks like comic books, but they like this and that, and it's a broader. And it didn't work. At least as far as our
Right.
But now we're not talking about tuning into one podcast network and keeping the dial there. We're talking about every single podcast that there is will be streaming to this one app. And whenever you don't like something, you simply say thumbs down. And after about a week, it's probably going to start to get really good at finding stuff that you like. And this is one of the offshoots of all of these people that are out there on a very much part-time basis, on a very much not-for-profit basis, just producing one good podcast every now and then. That if there's 100,000 of these people putting out shows, there's a good chance that you're going to find, Blind Pig's going to find a truffle every now and then. You think about how well this solves a certain problem where if you meet me and we're having lunch and you ask me what kind of podcast I'm listening to, I'll be really enthusiastic about 5 or 6 or 7 of them. But what if you don't meet a person, and what if you don't? It's kind of a complicated way to discover great new shows. Yeah. Most people are going to think that if the Bugle is really good political satire, but maybe there are 10 political satire shows that are almost as good, that once every 2 weeks, if it comes out in rotation, is going to serve that role. So it's good for discovery. But again, I just wonder if I think there are a lot of people that like 5x5 podcasts, that like Twit podcasts, that like Incomparable podcasts, because they agree with you and the people who curate.
I feel like
group.
it's up to them though to curate it rather than me. You know what I'm saying?
And so for a lot of people, it might be frustrating that they don't listen to podcasts, not because they don't like them, but because it's so hard to find those shows that have that consistent week after week after week hit rate.
Then that's something Apple could do very well. Apple has released new Macintoshes, but here's an interesting Apple support document. This is support.apple.com, HT5634, system requirements for boot camp. If you scroll down, and thanks to the chat room for this, to all the different Mac models and get to the Mac Mini, wait a minute, lo and behold, there's a mid-2014 Mac Mini. Have we seen that?
No.
So we know there's
at the mid of 2014.
This is mid-2014 right now. Apple, you better hurry if you're going to release that. Doesn't seem spec-wise to be any different from the late 2012 Mac Mini, at least in terms of running Windows, but that was modified July 28th, this document. Just thank you, chat room, for finding that. The new MacBooks are here, kind of one of those slipstreamed upgrades. It was a press release. That's pretty much it. If you go to the store, the prices are pretty much the same.
It's a tiny Haswell
price
bump.
It's a Haswell bump. More RAM in the stock 15-inch MacBook Pros, now 16 gigs RAM.
$100 off the old classic MacBook Pro.
It's nice that they've kept that alive. The classic MacBook Pro, which is the last one with a spindle, with a DVD CD player, $100 less.
And a spinning hard drive,
Yeah, and a spinning hard drive. So I think that's education, right? Or people who just, for some reason...
For people who just have to have an optical.
Have to have optical.
Yeah.
Anything to say about these new Mac Pros? Should I rush out and get one?
The new MacBook
Pros?
If you've been, I think if you've been waiting for one, maybe, because this indicates that if you're expecting a really titanic update to existing stock, clearly now it's not going to happen. It could mean that they're simply running out of the old parts and it's just cheap enough to just put the new parts in. It doesn't answer the question of whether or not Apple is going to be coming out with 12-inch Retina models or 12-inch MacBook Air Retina models. So if you're holding out hope for that, if you can hold your breath for another couple of months, it might be worth it. But as always, there comes a time when you realize that you could have been benefiting from this great new technology for the past 11 months instead of waiting for something that turned out to be not as good as what you were hoping for.
Is this because because Intel is delayed Broadwell? I mean, it almost feels like to me Apple was waiting for Broadwell.
Yeah,
they absolutely were.
I agree with that.
And then they finally, they themselves said, okay, we got to do something.
Well, I mean, they probably would have done they traditionally do the bump after, like they do the new architecture, then they do the bump a few months later, and then they go to the next generation architecture. It's just in this case, that next generation architecture slipped till the fall. Now it looks like it's slipping till next year. Yeah. Apple is probably big enough and buys enough of the exact same part that they'll get those chips first, the same way they did with previous generation MacBook Airs. But it's still probably not a position. Apple, if they had their druthers, would probably want to get that out faster.
What is different about Broadwell from Haswell?
I mean, it's different enough in terms of graphics and power efficiency that it allows something like a Retina MacBook Air to be built where it would not be pretty to build it on Haswell.
Right. Is this the new Mac Mini? 2.3 gigahertz Mac Mini, i7, 4 gigs memory, terabyte hard drive. That's not. Is that it?
Unless there's a press release, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. that just shows you that these upgrades,
Well, you got to crack it open and look for the Haswell stamp inside. That's what
I want to know. Is this Haswell? They don't have a Haswell, do they?
No, not yet.
It's the new 22 nanometer process technology with advanced core microarchitecture. That's what it is.
Peter Cohen explained this really well. That Mac Mini is based on that same old MacBook Pro with the DVD drive in it. Apple hasn't updated the architecture to the new Mac Pro architecture, and that's the next big.
That's
bump
what we're waiting
for.
Mac Mini, and that would be Haswell. You'd know that because it would be a Haswell part.
And maybe on the SSD on the PCIe. So, I mean, all the benefits that come with the new architecture.
That's what I want. Love that PCIe
sweet ride.
SSD. It is a sweet ride. It's a good way to describe it. All right, so I don't think that if there is a slipstreamed Mac Mini mid-2014, I don't think it's there yet in the store.
We'd almost certainly get
Alex is watching with interest. There'll be some indication.
Definitely ready for.
Yeah, they put a press release out for again $100 price drop on a Mac Pro that they're hoping that nobody will ever buy. Right. So there's no way they just sneak it in and hope that people sort of discover it.
Well,
a new Mac Mini.
And what I'm hoping, and I don't have a lot of hope, is the big problem that we have with the Mac Minis is not that the CPU isn't powerful enough, but that they don't put a GPU that's powerful enough, for a lot of applications.
You have to buy on the MacBook Pro. You have to buy the highest end MacBook Pro to have a dedicated GPU. Yeah. That's the 2500. Yeah,
that's all we get. I mean, but
I think that's all you'll ever get on a Mini. Really? You think
the Mini doesn't have that?
I'm saying you'll never get it. You'll always get Iris on a Mini. You'll never get it.
I know that's the big bummer.
External Thunderbolt GPU, Alex, the future.
Really?
Yeah, that would work.
People talk about it.
It's fast enough. That bus is fast enough.
Thunderbolt's fast enough. Yeah. Yep. I'll try that.
Okay. Thunderbolt is kind of a gatekeeper sort of technology because it really does seem like there are people who would never, ever in a million years think about having a certain accessory that works via Thunderbolt. And it sort of becomes that moment where you ask this user, okay, if you want this sort of graphics hardware, we've got it, but it will involve having another box on your desktop that will plug in via a cable. And, we really do have great graphics acceleration on board. So, but if you really want it, we can put this extra box on your desktop if you really, really want it, I suppose. And there are people who really do want that, just like there are people who really, really do want certain RAID solutions and people who really, really do want certain bizarre types of bus standards on it. So I think that maybe this is providing to be that big hurdle that or to quote a Monty Python sketch, it's like, if you, the insurance person who has to come in and fill up a 5-gallon bottle of urine, not because they need the urine, but because they want to make sure you're really serious about wanting to buy insurance before you come in to buy something. So maybe this is a way of Apple sort of.
People do that, really?
No. It's
well, you have a vivid imagination, Andy.
No, it's a sketch. It's a sketch. I'm sure it's on YouTube. It's funny.
Okay.
Eric Idle.
5 gallons. That's a lot.
Well, and I think that
really
I never thought
gallons? Oh no, heavens no! Why'd you ask me to bring it in for? Oh, we just want to make sure you're serious about wanting to buy insurance. It took me 2 weeks should I bring it in? No, for heaven's sake, throw it away. Don't bring it in here.
Last thing we'd want.
Well, and I think that I never thought that I would say, you see these ads that says the web runs faster on this PC or whatever, and the reality is the web does run faster on a MacBook Pro with than it does on a Mac Mini.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with all the web browsers
for you,
using
that's something important.
And for us, that becomes an issue.
So we want GPU, we want Haswell, and we want, if possible, a SSD on the PCI Express.
Kicking and streaming into 2014.
Yeah. Please, Apple, we beg of you. Please.
All you have to do is buy the old one, Leo, and they'll do it. I mean, they're just waiting on you.
I don't want the old one. So I don't usually, make much of patents. Apple patents everything it can, but this one I like. smart navigation patent. They just got it from the USPTO. It based on real-time crowdsourced stop sign and stop light-based traffic analyses to find the fastest path to a destination. You know, that's one thing. I don't know of any nav app that pays attention to the timing of stoplights. But, of course, if you're really, you know, if you drive the same route every day, you're kind of aware of, well, I need to, you know, stick to this speed so that I can go boom, boom, boom through those lights.
They're just always red, Leo. They're just always red.
You know, I mean, if you're driving a pregnant lady to the emergency room and she's dilated X centimeters, then yes, timing your routes so you hit all the green lights, I'm sure that's a really big deal. There comes a time where you realize that you're not Steve McQueen in Bullet. You know, it's okay if it's a difference of 5 minutes is a very big deal, or 10 minutes is a big deal. If you can cut. I don't think there's a lot of flab that you can get back by making sure that
no, but
you go down
it's so satisfying when you never have to tap the brake. You just kind of, even though you're not going as fast as you could, you're going 25 miles an hour, but you just motor.
The funniest one is that at night, Van Ness in San Francisco is actually the opposite. You actually have to speed by 5 miles an hour to
just
actually
a little faster,
to hit all the lights. You have to.
But that's a perfect example. You want to hit that because you're going up that hill in Van Ness. You just want to hit that.
That's the other thing. How many of us and how many people listening have almost gotten into a huge accident by somebody who really wanted to make sure they hit that light? They realized that green has been on for a while. Yeah. That doesn't mean, and instead of laying off the gas, they said, "Oh, I'm just going to floor it because I bet I can make it before it ends yellow."
No, I got rear-ended by a guy. I got rear-ended by a guy in San Francisco. I got out. He said, "I thought you were going to go through that yellow light."
I rear-ended the guy. Not very hard. I rear-ended the guy and just bumped into him because he was supposed to go through that. It was yellow. And
was that you who hit me?
No,
it was Alex.
but I see he looks out. He's about to get out of his car, and he looks back to me, and I'm going. He like yelling at him and stuff like that. Like and then he just kept on driving.
When I get hit, I'm calm. I'm just like, it's an accident.
That was 20 years ago. I was younger and more.
The only time I've ever been upset about that was I was giving it.
And we'll never know what that anecdote was.
The most important thing to understand is
stopped.
The answer is 42.
No, it's all about the number of seconds left for the number one reason to have that little hand is that it shows you the number of seconds before the yellow light turns on.
Oh yeah, the hand's good.
Pay attention a lot.
And nowadays on these crosswalks, they often give you seconds.
I know that's what I look at the seconds. That tells you 13, how much. So if I 11. See 8 seconds,
so I'm going 3 miles an hour.
Here's the worst part: is have you noticed that it used to be that all I wanted was green lights, and now a lot of times I want red lights.
Because you're not in a
hurry.
So
you can check Twitter.
You're gonna check the map.
Oh, so I can text.
No, I don't. I only text.
I think this is a good patent. Look at this. Just look at this. They've got satellites, radio towers, a network. They've got automobiles. Everything's talking to one another to help you get through that red light a little bit faster. I don't know but they could do this. And this is something, I feel like there's so much information that phone is gathering about your position, your speed. So useful. And of course, the privacy considerations might keep us from.
But a lot of the information would actually probably be useful for the not only for the users, but it would probably be good for the cities to understand how the flow is working. I mean,
do they do that in Canada?
They have some control, but I don't think they have. That kind of big data would be really useful.
Yeah, cities want to know that. That's why they put those little.
That say they do, but based on personal experience, I cannot scientifically verify that they do anything.
They don't time the lights at all.
They say they do, Leo, but they don't seem to work given the current speed limits.
Yeah. Isn't that funny?
That's something I really look forward to with driverless cars. If there's enough saturation that they can say that
they would know.
That they can basically say that we're going to actually have your car move more slowly, but that means that by the end of the trip you will get there faster because traffic as a whole will be better.
Yeah. Hey, Rene, last week we were talking about, in fact, we didn't, you were very kindly offered to get us a call from the guy who did the Hope X talk.
Jonathan.
And I've forgotten his last name now, but.
Jonathan Zadrowski.
Zadrowski. On the security risks in an iPhone. Steve Gibson did do and I'm sure you stayed tuned for that. And I saw some Twitter conversation afterwards from Zadarsky and yourself and others. Steve's opinion was that Apple very reasonably was balancing convenience and security. So, for instance, if you encrypt the data on the phone whenever you lock the screen, you can't get text messages. The phone cannot operate with the data encrypted. So, of course, it only encrypts when the phone is off, when you shut it down. And it can't possibly encrypt while it's on, even if the screen lock is on. It's useful to know that, but that all makes sense. And in almost every respect, he said, this is not an unreasonable choice for Apple to make. They didn't make it to provide a backdoor for the federal government or law enforcement. They did it for convenience. It's a logical way. You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's Steve's thing was fantastic. We linked to it on iMore. It was a really, really incredibly good way of explaining it to people. Now, Steve had an optimistic point of view, and he explained it, technologically. He didn't choose any sides. You can have a pessimistic point of view and choose to think that everything that is done, whether it's by accident or not, is ultimately malicious.
Yeah, that's more temperament than fact, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's two big problems with this. One is that you should never yell fire in a burning theater, but you should also, if there are sparks going off on a wire next to a stove, you should tell people because it's useful information. There is no fire, but you should tell people. And a lot of this stuff and again, Steve did a fantastic way explaining it. The problem was mostly the media reaction. Even Jonathan, and they would debate, for example, a backdoor. He called it a backdoor. Some people took issue with it because they believe you have to have malice of intent in order for it to be a backdoor.
The key to Steve's presentation, you tell me if this is wrong, is that without you taking advantage of none of this stuff happens unless you have a trusted device paired with your iPhone.
Yeah.
So unless you have physical access to the iPhone and a trusted device paired with it, none of this matters. And it seemed to Steve, and it in fact seems to me, not being a security expert, that's sufficient. That and you have some suggestions on imore.com for how to make sure that the trusted devices are really trusted.
If it really worries you.
And furthermore, I think Steve did say this, probably Jonathan Zadarsky would agree, it would probably behoove Apple to add a little pop-up each time saying you're trusting this device. You're trusting this device. Is that right? Do you want to trust this device? All of that makes sense.
If you are very security conscious, it would be nice if Apple had an option for you to say, always ask me my passcode or always ask me the trusted device thing. It's hard to explain this stuff really because people do get scared, and I understand that.
Oh, there are people in the chat room saying, how could you believe this? It's obvious Apple's got a backdoor. How could they explain 600 million packet-sniffing phones?
Well, see, that's FUD. I mean, that's the stuff that you pull out. There is a developer tool that does packet sniffing that all of this comes down to physical access, and a lot of people pointed out, if I have physical access to your phone and your computer, I could probably just sync anything I want off of iTunes anyway. I don't need the backdoor. Right. But what security people like Steve and other people say is that there's depth of security and you want layers. So even though, if I have physical access, I can get this stuff anyway, it's nice if you shut down the multiple ways. Like if these things don't absolutely need to be there, just turn them off because it's safer than not having them off. And when you fix other areas, apparently a lot of jailbreakers exploited this and they were really upset that he presented all this information because they had a lot of stuff in stock. But a jailbreak is the ultimate backdoor for a device. You can get almost anything off of it, and media seldom reports a jailbreak as catastrophically as they've been reporting this story. Right. So it really is, I think, a lack of fundamental understanding of security models and threat models.
I almost always feel like if a attack requires physical possession of the device, that's so much less worrisome, because by the time somebody has physical access to your computer, your phone, whatever, you're pretty much screwed at that point.
And sophisticated knowledge. It isn't just holding the phone. You have to know how to steal the pairing keys. You have to know these services exist. You have to be a pretty high value target for someone to expend the skill and resource to get this information off your device.
And I think the most important thing is that these back doors make a lot of these great spy movies more feasible.
Well, and there is no such thing as perfect security, but were Apple to really attempt perfect security, you wouldn't want this phone because it would be such a pain in the ass to use it. Yeah. That you'd go, well, God, I have to enter my, doesn't pick up text messages unless it's unlocked. I have to enter my code every single time I attach it to any device. I mean, it just would be really annoying.
It would be painful.
Yeah.
I have a lot of sympathy for Apple and other companies that are put in this position where they have these tools that are there for very, very positive reasons, or even because they have no option. They don't have the option of not putting it on. And we're living in an environment where every single thing that can be perceived as a security risk is perceived as something of being betrayed by the maker of your device. When, again, all you did was you put something on there so that later on, if a bad thing happens, it's easy to find out what happened and fix it. And they've done it with good intentions. They've also done it the best way they possibly can. But now they sort of have the part of the PR nightmare of running a tech company is realize that you no longer have the option of simply maintaining radio silence or dismissing a complaint. I don't know if this were like an antenna gate sort of thing, Apple does not have the option of saying, oh, stop whining. I know that the bars are going down, but if you weren't so dumb, you would realize that this isn't an issue. But now, not only do they have to can't they simply say, look, this has nothing to do with it. This is not a backdoor. This is not us being in cahoots with the government. This is something that's very, very technical that I'm sure the people who are writing about this stuff can explain to you if you pay attention to it. Now they actually have to sort of come out and say, well, we can't go into every detail of how we secure our phones. All we're saying is that we're going on the record as saying that we are absolutely doing this in a good faith way.
I would point everyone to iMore's excellent article, How to Better Protect Your iPhone and iPad Against Backdoors and Other Security and Privacy Risks. And in that article, you guys point out immediately, Rene wrote it, so I shouldn't say you guys, you point out immediately that everyone should have a passcode on their iPhone. Apple said at the last event that when they announced Touch ID, half of all iPhone users do not lock their phones. So that's step one, right? Now,
step
I
one.
think Apple could do a good job. I don't think it would be too harmful for Apple to say every single time you wanted to pair it to your computer, give us your passcode. I think that'd be fair. That would ameliorate a lot of this, right? Because right now the weakness is that if once you've paired it to a computer, that computer is always paired and automatically syncs up. Would it be so onerous to turn that on so every time you had to enter your passcode?
At least it's an option.
Well, it is an option, but you have to use this special tool, and that's one of the things Rene describes how to do.
Yeah, the configure it. I mean, there's a couple of things they could do. Like, for example, they could encrypt the diagnostic information. They could reduce the diagnostic information to things that right now it just looks like, and we've talked about this before, Apple is incredibly resource constrained and they have people doing so many things. And sometimes it's just easier to turn something on than to go there and create an entire system for it. So the enterprise stuff could probably be locked down a bit better. The diagnostic stuff could probably be locked down a bit better. You could have additional options. You never want to make it too complicated because then people look at it, they go, and they don't do anything. Yeah. But there are a couple, and to his credit, Jonathan points out a couple of these steps too. I think there's some that we don't want, but things like, or even if you don't want the passcode, have that trusted button put up and you just press yes if you want to trust the device. Right. There's a lot of steps they could take, but you can do things now. You could make your iPhone pretty secure right now if you want to go through the trouble. If you want a 20-digit password instead of a passcode on your iPhone, Apple lets you do that.
Yeah, and in fact, you might want to do that, but it also may take a long time.
It's incredibly painful to unlock your iPhone. But you can do that.
This is a very good article. Recommend it to people who. So there are ways to make your iPhone much, much more secure. I guess you kind of nailed it when you said it's your temperament. If somebody in the chat room said, "Well, does the file vault have a backdoor for the federal government or not?" Of course it does. Well, there's no evidence that it does. If your temperament, your belief system is that of course it does, then that's your belief system. But if you're going to operate purely on fact, we just don't know. We just don't know.
And Steve said it so well a couple of years ago when he said, it's too expensive to make perfect code. Even NASA can't make perfect code anymore. And humans make mistakes. You have a month to get this out. You need this diagnostic running. You turn this on. No one's going to see it. You'd have to, all the things people have to do to break in and see this. It's almost inconceivable to you. But people break in. So, does file vault have any flaws? Not that we found, but we didn't find OpenSSL. We didn't find Heartbleed.
You can't prove the negative is the problem.
Absolutely.
You can't prove it has no flaws. You could say we haven't found any, but that's not the proof it doesn't have any. And all software has flaws. So
and not to let
you don't want it, just don't put it on.
I think Apple's done it. Frankly, I think Apple's. I go back and forth. Obviously, when we first saw this Zdarsky presentation, I was a little concerned, particularly the questions that Jonathan had for Apple, which Apple wasn't really responding to in any way, but some sort of PR speak. I think those are legitimate questions, but my temperament is. I feel fairly trusting of Apple. I don't see any reason to think that Apple is intentionally putting backdoors in for law enforcement.
Well, and I think this is not that they shouldn't keep on working on it and that we shouldn't always be concerned. But I mean,
push them to get better.
When I send emails, when I post stuff on Twitter or internet, and one of the reasons I don't use Path anymore is mostly I didn't even want to think about posting anything on the internet that I'm not don't want to. I don't go to sites that I don't think I should go to. I don't go to, like all of that is stuff that I just assume is being watched by someone. They may not do anything with it.
But it's everybody has to be responsible for their own choices in this regard.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. What I'm saying is that we need to keep on doing all this. We need to keep on making it more secure. But you need to understand that when you're on the entire internet is an unsecure network.
Right.
And that when you're going to websites and when you're doing other things, you should consider that you're doing it out in the open. Essentially, you might as well be doing it on a street, corner. Yeah. So just keep that in mind when.
This is why when people complain about the old chestnut that, Google's business model is all about selling your personal information to people, and that's not actually true. But if people are really forceful about that, I say, wow, I'm so glad you care about what this company is doing privately with your data. It must be really hard to never use the web at all or never use phone apps. No, I use both those things. Oh, so then you're kind of screwing yourself because they're 80 million times more leaky than what's been shown that Google does with their data. But okay, fine. Can continue to use your Kim Kardashian fan app that for some reason wants your device ID and wants access to your contacts. Go ahead.
There was two things that Steve said also that were great. One is that the part of the problem with a lot of the articles is that they used very provocative language like undocumented iOS features. And it's important to remember all of iOS is undocumented. It is not an open source. So parts of it like WebKit are and the mock kernel is, but iOS is not open source. It is not documented unless and until Apple makes a public version of part of it. And the other thing is because it's not documented, you need people like Jonathan pounding away at it because that's how we find these faults. So as much as I dislike the reporting surrounding it, I hope people like him and him specifically keep doing this because that's how all of us get better, including Apple.
Good. And we want to get better here at MacBreak Weekly, reporting this stuff in a responsible, reliable way. And, we can always get better at it too. And I think we always are working towards that. Because I don't want to be the last thing I want anything I do is to be sensationalistic or clickbait.
I want my mom to be scared.
We're trying to get at the truth of it, and it's not always easy. And opinions and temperament can change how you slant it, how you feel about it. Yeah. But we're trying to get the truth, the fact of it.
Let's acknowledge that we have a responsibility too. I mean, I can't speak for other people, but there are times when I get the phone call and say, hey, can you be on this radio show at this time to talk about this? And I make it really clear to the producer that, okay, this is a non-story.
Right.
So as long as you're okay with me speaking for 3.5 minutes about why nobody should be worried at all about this, and I'm perfectly fine to not be on the radio or not be on TV.
After that.
Sometimes, actually, some of them do. I mean, there are a couple of Chicago radio stations that I work with, and that they really do like to have that conversation. But there are times when you simply have to say, "I'm here to tell you not to do this story because it's just of no use whatsoever."
Nobody will ever top Jeff Jarvis, who told the BBC on the air that they were full of it. And to their credit, they keep having him back. So. Let's see, real quickly, before we go to our picks of the week, stories that we haven't mentioned, the Senate and the House have now voted that it's once again legal to unlock your phone. It was legal, and then the exception lapsed, and the DMCA took back over, made it illegal to unlock your phone as soon as President Obama signs that law, and he says he will. Once again, it will be legal to unlock your phone. That's not jailbreak, which I believe is still legal to jailbreak your phone. Unlocking it means saying buying a phone, say, from AT&T, and then unlocking it so that you can use it on another carrier.
Once your contract is up, the proposed law says that once your contract is up, you own the phone. Right. Until then, you're sort of partly owning it,
as it should be, of course.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see these unlocking apps, unlocking services stop being this weird thing that you get off of eBay,
right?
And be this sort of thing where go to the Verizon store and they will sell that as a side option for either the carrier will do it for free, or there will be reputable stores that will say, bring in your phone for $15, we will carry or unlock it, and or even how some banks will actually roll your coins for you. They have a coin sorter machine to get you into the bank to hopefully have you sign up for their services. It'd be great if like AT&T and Verizon and T-Mobile, they all had, look, for free, we will unlock any one of these 40 models of phones and with no obligation. But if you then decide you want to use one, buy one of our data plans, we will also waive the sign-up fee for this. A lot of really great opportunities are presented, but now that this is unambiguously legal.
AT&T's done this for some time. If you've had the phone for 6 months, Even if you're not out of contract. If you're up in good standing, they'll unlock it for you. And that's very
Rogers
easy.
did it for me.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's a U.S. thing. In most of Europe, this is the law. You have to. You can't lock a phone. It's only here that this law has changed a little bit. Let's see. You'll be able to check into the Hilton soon with your iPhone.
I'm very excited about that. I mean,
get into your
hotel
room,
keys.
I should say, not just check
Paris
in.
is so thrilled.
I get my wallet. I'm always like, why is my wallet getting so fat? And then I realize it's just a whole bunch of hotel keys.
Hilton guests will be able to select their rooms online using their smartphones. They'll be able to see the floor plan for each available room. I like that.
Whoa.
Stay away from the elevator. Guests will be able to check in and out using their smartphones, purchase upgrades, make special items, and unlock the room itself. By the end of this year, smartphone-based check-in and room selection will be available for 650,000 rooms across 4,000 Hilton hotels. And the technology that allows smartphones to be used as room keys will begin rolling out next year.
When you really think about the efficiencies that's going to give Hilton, it means that that whole line at the beginning of when you walk in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon is gone. I mean, you literally just go to your room with your key.
Apparently, Starwood is also testing something similar. Once one does it, everybody will do it.
But is this what customers really want? It sounds great, but the people who are most valuable to these hotel chains are the ones who want I don't have to worry about lines because I'm a Starwood Double Diamond Black Plus card holder. I go to this person, someone meets me at the revolving door and walks me right to the best room that's available in the entire hotel because I got the a substitute Italian or Yiddish word meaning that I've got big I'm clout. I've got clout.
Sorry.
No need to get gynecological.
I got to tell you, I'm a Hertz Gold member, and the fact that you get off the bus, you don't have to get in line. You just go to the car. You get in the car. You drive off the lot, and when you're done, you drive it back on the lot and you walk away, and you never talk to a human is huge.
Provided your iPhone is charged.
The same thing with Avis.
So obviously there's some value to that at a hotel.
My issue is that, for instance, I'm a hotels.com guy, so I don't have a sizable membership with anyone except hotels.com, which we have running lots and lots of rooms all the time, and so. For me, I don't really belong to anything enough to do it, but the thing is, I really don't need to talk to anyone, and especially when there's someone there's like 4 people in front of me that don't go to hotels very often.
We're geeks. We don't want to talk to humans.
I just want to walk in. I don't want someone to take my bag. I don't want them to talk to me when I get out of the. I just want to be able to walk in and go up to my room and check in.
The Apple campus looking good. It's starting to emerge from the ground in a muddy ring. Here it is. Looks like the aliens have landed, and they've just got a permit for a new $25 million tunnel that leads, I guess, to the underground parking garage and a $171 million underground theater, which I will never be invited to see. But I guess the whole point of that is that, and we knew this was in the original plan, that Apple events will now be held on campus.
What about the go-kart ring, Leo? Is there a $150 million go-kart ring yet?
One day of autocross. There must be employees who are saying, look, just give us one day. We can bring whatever vehicle we want and just do panic laps around that thing.
And film it all with your iPhone.
Looks like they've been doing it, to be honest.
Mario Kart for reals.
So I look forward to that. I hope by then they will have taken me off of double secret probation and I'll be able to actually get a tour of the campus. I'm looking forward to that. Looks
they got those
sweet.
baskets of fruit that are shaped like floral bouquets, Leo. Maybe he just sent one of those to Tim.
Tim, I love you.
He just wants that one tangible act of contrition.
Maybe that's it. I have just, you know what? I think that's probably it. I have just never apologized.
That might have been it.
I should just
send them a little letter.
I'll put some flowers on Steve's grave and apologize. All right, time for our picks of the week, boy and girl. No girls, boys and boys. Let's start with you, Andy Ihnatko.
My pick this week is really, really simple. We were talking earlier about how as people who travel a lot, our ears really perk up when we see something that allows us to replace something big and bulky with something that is a lot smaller that does the same job. Also, I have the problem where I have to make sure that I have pretty much separate copies of everything that I use technologically, and a set of this is in that bag because I'm always just if I can't look around the office and look for a USB cable and put that in the bag when I'm packing for a trip. But that also said, I am the first person who, when I'm in the office and, oh God, I can't find a lightning cable. Well, I know there's one in my laptop bag. I'll just go get it. Then I'll make sure I remember that when I'm done with it at the desk, I'll put it right back in that laptop bag because that's where this cable belongs. I don't bother to do it. And then fast forward to 2 weeks later when I really need the lightning cable to charge something that's not there. So that's why I was really happy to find this. It's made by Skiva. This is the 2-in-1 lightning and micro USB charge and sync cable.
Oh, this is cool.
I love this.
All
I
of
have one.
$15. Yeah, it is a Apple certified Lightning connector that is tethered to a standard micro USB.
All my cables should be like
the
this.
The tethering is the key to the operation because the problem
always
is
lose
Apple
the
makes
adapter.
the little adapter.
I've swallowed the adapter, I think.
When I talked about this on Twitter, someone said, "Oh, well, big deal! You can get one of these little adapters." Yes, you can, and then you lose it, and it's not there when you need it. And so this way, you have the one cable that will do both the things that you need.
Awesome.
Also, this is enough of a this is enough of a freak sort of item that I can program my brain to say that I'm not even allowed to use this inside the office. This is only something that has to be used when I'm outside the office. It only belongs in the bag. But even beyond that, just as I now have one cable, and this is the one thing that charges the two things I need to charge when I'm outside the office. This is the 3-foot version, but they also make, I think, a 1/2-foot version.
Yeah, I just bought 5 of the 1/2-foots.
If you want it to be even smaller. Yeah, it's really great. I like these simple solutions to deficiencies that you might have in your personal wetware operating system. This is a good patch for problems that I have up here with cables.
You know why I bought the little short one? Because I just found, and I love this. I wonder if it's on my Amazon.
I have a whole slew of these little 6-inch ones. The
little ones are great.
And I keep them in the top, little top.
Yeah, this is what I bought. It's from Ihnatko, which I think is the same name of the company in Office Space. But this thing is a USB charger that has 5 ports. 2 of them are 11 watts. Mm-hmm. So you have the 2 super ports for your iPad, and then 3. And see if I have 5 of those little cables plugged in there, then any of those ports could charge anything I have.
Yes.
Awesome.
I think it was an Alex pick, and the Anvic is that what they call it? There's one similar like that where it's 5 ports and they're Anchor, and it was so good that I bought a second one which stays inside my travel case, and the other one is actually clamped to my desk. And it's exactly as you say. I actually wound up having to say that, well, look, if these Amazon Basics USB cables are only $4, I'm just going to buy 5 of those. Yes. I'm going to zip tie them together, and so I don't have the ability and keep them all plugged into this thing. So anytime I need to plug something into my desk, there is a cable attached and ready to go, because again, those cables are going to walk if they have a ability to walk. So I'm such a big fan of finding something inexpensive that works and just buying duplicates of them to make sure that you never have to look for something because no matter where you are, no matter where you need to use it, it is already there in that place because you have 4 or 5 copies of it.
I just feel like I want everything Anchor makes.
Yes.
Yeah, I gotta say, Alex, that's one of the most satisfying things I own. That it's small, it works beautiful. The first time I traveled with it, and I'm plugging in. Okay, because of testing and also because of stupid things I was doing, I had 3 laptops. I had 3 tablets plugged into it, including like an iPad 3, and I had a phone and like a big battery charger plugged into it. And the first time I woke up and saw 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%, 100%. All right then. Went right to Amazon, bought a second one because I know that I never want to have to travel without this thing because the number of times when I've traveled with 3 times too many, three more USB chargers than I need, only because I'm packing. I can't remember how many I put in there, and I see another one. So I may as well put another one in this bag just in case I'm lose one. And then I've got like 7 in there. Nope. Problem solved. You have this. It stays inside the bag. This problem is solved for the remainder of my life needing to charge things
until Apple changes its cabling, and then you're screwed.
We've fixed the problem of USB charging.
How long is the lightning cable going to be good for? Because I am now reaching the point where I have all the lightning cables.
I just wish they'd license it out. I don't know if they're willing to. The thing is that the one thing, after you use a lightning and a micro USB, you really get that the lightning is a lot better than the micro USB. And you're just like, oh, I got to figure out which side.
It's so easy to put in.
Delicate. And, the lightning bolt is just, you just drop it in. And then you combine it with this thing. This is this little monster power thing.
Oh, yeah. These are good because they're so compact.
So I have this in my bag. Yeah. And it's you just pull it out and it's 4.
And it has USB too.
So that combined with
wow,
I
have that to go.
Yeah. They make it. Someone else makes one that does international plugs, but that one's pretty.
That's the problem. Is this is not?
I have another one has international
dual voltage.
This will do dual voltage, I think.
I had one that didn't, and I actually knocked out the power in 2 hotels and a cruise ship.
It's really cool because
before I figured it out,
fire.
I suddenly realized, that's why I keep short-circuiting all the power in the room.
Too. This one's just
it's kind of embarrassing. We're in Venice. I have to call down. This hotel is built out of a 14th century monastery. Not the best electricity. Right. And I plug the thing in, and it goes, and the whole room is dark. And Signor.
Per favore.
Per favore.
You notice though that like we are all like, imagine like a Woodstock sort of experience where all kinds of bands together and we're in the green room and all we want to talk about are different drugs we found. Oh, you got it. Technically it's a horse tranquilizer and you break it in half, but oh my God, people who have traveled a lot of technology. Oh my God, if you're using that kind of travel charger, let me rock your world. It's made by this company. It's 5 ports. It can charge 3 laptops at the same time.
So pathetic. Mr. Alex Lindsay, your pick of the week.
I have a pick and a tip.
And a tip and a pick.
All right. So my tip, I'll do my tip first. So I'm in a lot of conference calls. I don't know, maybe not a lot of our listeners are in a lot of conference calls, but I'm in like 4 or 5 a day minimum. I was on 4 before I got into this show. And here's the problem with conference calls. 2 numbers. You have to dial in a number.
Hate that.
Stupid code.
Hate that.
And no matter what you do, everybody's got a stupid code. Well, so I was using Tempo, and I realized that Tempo was doing something, and I figured out that it wasn't just anybody could do it. Tempo's great, but
what's Tempo?
Tempo is this other calendar
it's a calendar app. Yeah,
that's not. So the tip.
I use Sunrise, not Tempo.
Right. So, but here's the tip. Regardless of what you use.
Yes.
I've now started to institute this in the company. Is that if you have the phone number, so 800 blah 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 for like GoToMeeting, and then you do a space and then a semicolon and then the code
space semicolon
and then whatever that code is, the 6-digit or 9-digit number, and then a pound sign at the end. If you dial that number, you'll see a little thing at the bottom that has there's a number hidden on your iPhone now down below, and when it asks for the code, you hit that and it just dials it up.
Because of the space semicolon?
Space semicolon. That's
an iPhone-specific thing?
I don't know if it's an iPhone or Android, but I know it works on my iPhone because I've been using it all the time. And so I require now everybody in the company, if you want me to join a phone thing, just send it.
The invitation
you text me
with
that,
space semicolon.
and I sit there and select, copy it, paste it into my phone, hit go, and it will dial the number, and then wait, and then I go wait, and I hit the button again, and it'll dial my code. Which if you're
comma is pause, right? What is comma? Comma's pause.
You don't need the comma.
You could do comma.
Yeah, you could do that. But the problem with that is that the semicolon. That's funny. So the semicolon tells you to wait until I hit. It puts it into another button on the iPhone. So it's not just taking a long space.
So there's this magic hidden button.
There's a magic hidden button that appears if you use the semicolon.
See, because you don't know how many commas, how long to pause.
Just wait.
But this way, you wait till the operator says, "Now, please enter your 5-digit."
And then you hit that button, and it'll dial it in. And the key is to put pound at the end, so it doesn't wait too long and everything else. But anyway, so anyway, that's my tip. Now the pick of the week.
You know where that comes from?
Where?
Hayes Robotic Styling Commands.
Oh yeah, is it? It's part of the AT command set.
Comma and a semicolon.
I remember in Red Rider having to 9 comma.
Yeah.
617.
Yeah, I remember that.
7
Yeah.
Yes.
You wait till it goes.
It could be something very standard. So anyway, my pick of the week is my friends and my brother are making a movie. They're making a movie and they finished shooting it already. So it's not like it's not one of the things that they said, oh, we're going to make a movie and you could try to help us. They've already shot the whole movie.
I like the name, Boca.
And it's there's the cool video that they and so my brother was the DP for this. So all the images that you see here, my brother's about to become much more famous than I am, I think.
And what's the premise?
I'm not very famous. It's easy to pass. This is these guys suddenly wake up and there's nobody else. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
I'm Jeffrey Orthwell.
So that's Jeff used to work for me, and I used to work with Andy too.
I recognize Jeff.
So these are both, and so these guys put this together. And I think almost everybody who worked on the film we've worked with at some point in time. But my brother did all the.
I love this premise.
Yeah.
I wish this would happen. Like you wake up and you could ride your bicycle on the highway and stuff because there's nobody left.
Right.
Just you and a beautiful girl.
Exactly.
We are legends.
We've got to reproduce now to recreate the entire world. I wouldn't sleep with you if you're the last man on earth, but I am.
You've always been waiting to say that. Yeah. So, but
look, I can steal any car. I just want to ride my bike on the interstate.
just hope that you don't break your glasses sitting at the library. That's did I geek you out there? Twilight Zone action. So, so anyway, so they shot this in Iceland. So I was getting all these pictures of Iceland of them shooting and stuff like that. My brother did all the steady cam.
He gets to be the last man on Earth.
I know.
He's very well dressed for the last man on Earth. I would stop wearing neckties and pocket squares if I were the last man on Earth.
That's true. That's true.
Who are you impressing?
Exactly. So lots of steady cam work. I think there's like tons of it. But
is it a full length feature film?
It's a full length feature film, and what they're doing a Kickstarter to do the post production for it. So they've already done all the shooting, and they're just doing a little Kickstarter project. So people should check that out. We're going to do a hangout.
Ooh, it looks like they're in
a couple
Iceland.
weeks with them to have them kind of talk through the process of how it got made and do some behind the scenes and talk to the crew. So stay tuned for that. But you should jump in. It looks like a really cool movie, and I think
neat. Bokeh, Bokeh. It's on Kickstarter. Mr. Rene Ritchie, your pick of the week.
My pick of the week is Revolution 60. It debuted last week on the iOS app stores for iPhone and iPad, and it is a game using the Epic Unreal Engine. Ooh. And one of the unique qualities of this game is, and sadly that it's unique quality, is that it was made by an entirely female gaming studio, and it's got an entirely female cast. It's really delightfully animated. It's not a typical, fake joypad sort of a game. They've done it's more like a movie, almost like a choose your own adventure, where you play the game and you get to do actions of increasing complexity, and you can choose whether you respond sarcastically or professionally, and that's sort of like choose your own destiny sort of thing. So you can choose to become a jerk in this game, which is a choice I've been making, and I'm waiting to find the consequences of that.
How come if women design a game, they still have Barbie figures?
So there's a couple of reasons for that. And I actually interviewed the women who did it, Amanda Warner and Brianna Wu.
I thought that was a male thing. That
part of it is that it's the design aesthetic they grew up with. They loved J. Scott Campbell, for example's art, and a lot of the early Marvel and anime stuff. Right. But also because they're still limited with the amount of bones they can put in skeletons, they put most of them into the hair, so they couldn't animate any clothing or anything.
The hair is elaborate.
Yeah, so the hair has got most of the animation.
All the bones are in the hair. Okay.
And that meant that they had to make fairly static bodies, so they're not really wearing anything of animated worth.
Okay. Hey, that looks like fun. So it's kind of puzzle plus adventure.
Yeah. So and it's got a great storyline. The voice acting is incredible. The music is fantastic. As you can see from here, the graphics are great. The story is excellent. If you're like a fan of like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Black Widow or Alias or Dark Angel or anything, you'll fit right in here.
Or Lucy. Cool.
Yes, or Lucy. Absolutely.
What's it called again?
It's called Revolution 60 by Giant Space Cat.
60, and it's iOS.
Yeah, iPhone and iPad right now.
iPhone and iPad. Cool. I don't know. I don't like to mention Kickstarter stuff, and I don't know if I'm going to make this a pick or not, but when I get it, maybe I will, because I did order it, and I hope I get it. This is it's called the Unity Stand. It's for people who are all Apple all the time. An integrated dock and charging system that you can charge your iPhone, your iPad, put it underneath your cinema display, and it all goes together in some beautiful form.
Ooh.
Star Trekian.
Yeah, Star Trekian. I did sign up. We'll see if I get it. I think this is the one I got. $159 for the full set. You can get just the one thing, but I got all of them like that. I think it's kind of cool. Anyway, just thought I'd mention it. It's not really a pick because I haven't got it yet, and you know me and Kickstarter. I'm really good at picking Kickstarter projects and never go anywhere. So maybe
they should pay you not to pick them.
They should pay me not to. You know that robot that everybody's showing the video that follows you around and looks at you?
Yeah,
right. I bought it.
Really?
Hey, did you get that movie from the guy who wouldn't leave the apartment in Palm Springs? Wasn't that game?
What about
Kickstarter?
Okay.
Like
potato salad, Leo? Did you back the potato salad?
Stop the insanity! Somebody just tie me up and take away my credit cards.
No, it's there are people who had to be the first to buy the Mac. They were often they had conversations much like this one.
Here's to the crazy ones.
You need an as seen on TV sticker for
the
as seen on
people who
Kickstarter.
spend money on Kickstarter. Oh, well. Twilight Zone, Season 3,
LPs and 45s?
Episode 1, September 15th, 1961. Two survivors of an apocalyptic battle, a man and a woman, each from opposing sides, approach each other suspiciously. starring Elizabeth Montgomery, who went on to play Bewitched, and Charles Bronson. See, that's the guy you say, I wouldn't sleep with you if you were the Oh, you are?
Ask yourself a question.
That's a bad thing to say to Charles Bronson, because then he will kill everybody.
And then
he's the last man
he
on
is
Earth.
the last man on Earth. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for. By the way, no, I won't. I'm going to stop with the Kickstarter. No more Kickstarter. Well, here's a great Kickstarter project you'll lose all your money on. Thank you so much for being here. We do MacBreak weekly at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 1800 UTC every Tuesday at the Twit Brick House studio. If you, like these 15 fine people, want to be in studio, we invite you to do so. Just email tickets at twit.tv. Hello, wave to the camera, everybody. Oh, look, we got a new camera. Where did we get that, Chad? That's nice. The audience cam.
We stole it from the technical director's shot.
You know what? I don't like this shot. You know why?
It's weird. Well, you don't
I
also
see more empty chairs than I see here.
Well, yeah, we're not getting the front rows and the side rows, so there's even more people than we see.
This is the largest MacBreak audience we've had in some time, so thank you all for being here. We appreciate it.
It's awesome.
Usually we get this size audience only once a year after Macworld, and I don't know what happened.
WWDC.
The moon is in this.
And they're not interconnected. They're all just a whole bunch of tiny groups.
They don't know each other.
Yeah, they don't know each other.
Yeah.
They didn't plan it.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Tickets at twit.tv. If you go to Teespring, TWESPRING.com/twit, you have about 28 more days to buy our new T-shirt. We're going to offer this for 1 month only. This is to commemorate our 3rd anniversary here in the Brick House. We moved in on July 24th, 2011. 3 years we've been here. It's kind of hard to believe. And this is a nice-looking T-shirt. We got the design on 99 Designs. And if there's ladies' and gentlemen's sizes. Teespring, TEE, spring.com/twit. If you can't be here in person, if you can't watch live, don't worry. On-demand audio and video available on all those apps that we talk about all the time, the podcast app and iTunes and our own apps. We've got great apps by our independent third-party developers on every platform, including iOS, Android, and even Roku. So check those apps out, and you can watch us live. There's a page right there. What is that? Twit.tv/apps. Apps.
Pretty easy to remember.
So you can see all the varieties we have. And we're working on getting more to you. Thank you for being here. We'll see you next time. Now back to work, my friends, because break time is over.